Hey guys, Ezra here and welcome back to another Ezra review. And on today's review, I want to talk about Captain America Brave New World. Now, this is the fourth Captain America movie now, and this movie is directed by Julius Ona, and then it has 5 writers, which is not a good sign. And it stars Anthony Mackie as the new Captain America, Sam Wilson. And yeah, this movie are okay, to be honest. It's not a bad movie, but I gotta say, man, I have a very low expectation seeing this movie, because first of all, I have no interest seeing the movie in the first place, to be honest, because Steve Rogers to me is Captain America. Chris Evans is Captain America, and he's a much more he's a better characters and a lot more charismatic as Captain America compared to Sam Wilson. Even though again, I think Anthony Mackie does a good job, as Sam Wilson, but I think I don't really feel the drive, from his character to become the next Captain America, and I feel like the conflict for his character just wasn't really there. Even in the show The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, his character is just okay. It's not a bad character, but he was just okay. Like it's not exactly an interesting character. And that's why I think this movie feels ultimately feels hollow for me. Because this movie feels like a sequel to The Incredible Hulk, and I think some reviewers already mentioned that, and after seeing the movie, I was like, yep, it does feels like a sequel to The Incredible Hulk, except Bruce Banner are nowhere to be found. Mark Ruffalo are nowhere to be found in this movie. And weirdly enough, I think there is some news before this movie. I think this movie, when the movie got announced, there is some news about how Mark Ruffalo might be involved in the movie, and for some reason he didn't. And it was just so weird, because obviously the villain of this movie is Tim Blake Nelson, the leader, Samuel Stearns, which is a character that exists way back in the Incredible Hulk movie, which is like a really weird MCU movie, because I always forget that that movie was actually from the MCU movie. I always thought that it was a standalone movie, to be honest, but it was an MCU movie, the second MCU movie, and then now this movie are trying to tie in the loose end from the Incredible Hulk, and I think it does a pretty good job of on that, but I feel like it's a bit weird that you told this story on a Captain America movie and not on a Hulk movie, and I understand why Marvel doesn't want to do like a Hulk movie, because every single time they have to make a solo Hulk movie, they have to share the profits, I think, to Universal. I think that's the last time I heard why they didn't want to make another solo Hulk movie. But it's also really weird that Bruce Banner wasn't in this movie, because I think you could easily put him in this movie. I can see a room where you can actually put Bruce Banner in this movie and make the movie a lot more sense, and try to connect the Incredible Hulks to this plot point of this movie, and yeah, as a storyline, I think it's okay. It's a pretty engaging storyline, and of course the action sequences are also pretty good in my opinion. It was actually a really enjoyable action sequence, even though that there is one there is some really bad ones, like the clip that were released before, before the movie was released. I think that they released like a clip where Sam Wilson are fighting a big dude, from the Super Society, and it was just like the choreography in that scene was just really, really weird, and I've obviously seen that on the big theaters. I was like, yep, that's not really good, man. I think that was a pretty terrible choreography in my opinion, but I think the rest of the action sequence are quite fun to watch, obviously there is some cool sequence, between the two Falcons and then a jet, which is kind of get like the Top Gun feels to it. I think it tries to do that, but it doesn't quite nail that, because it was all VFX, and I think the scene itself, when the action sequence happens in the movie, sometimes it does feels like an obligation to put an action sequence here, because like they might think that the audience is getting bored, so hey, let's just put on some action sequence, because why not, right? And it really feels like that sometimes throughout the movie, and it feels kind of rough at times, but I do think the movie is actually quite engaging, in terms of the characters and the storyline and then the action sequence itself, but it doesn't feel special, especially the end fight scene between Falcon, or I guess Captain America and the Red Hulk. I think it was fine. When it's happened, I was like, okay, finally it happens, and then it just ends after some. I think it doesn't last for very long. That's kind of like the sad part about it, because they really marketed Red Hulk a lot in this, in the trailers, and the promotion. Yet he was not in this movie a lot. And he was just there for like 5 minutes, I think, in the end of the movie. And then the action sequence in the end, it was like, yeah, there's a lot of visual effects. I think they are pretty good, but I do think it's just missing this emotional arc, from the movie itself, because again, this movie tries to mimic the Winter Soldier tone, and it does a pretty good job on that sense, where there is less joke in this movie, so that's great, but I feel like it kind of missed the pacing and the storyline and the characters from the Winter Soldier, where there is some emotional elements in the storyline, especially between Steve Rogers and Bucky Barnes as the Winter Soldiers, and in this movie, when Thaddeus Ross becoming the Red Hulk, I feel like you don't really get to see that emotional sense in the movie itself. Like they tried to put that in this movie, but it doesn't quite work that well in my opinion. But at least there is an attempt to do that. But I don't think the execution are that good. And obviously, in terms of the performance, I think the performers are quite good. I think Sam Wilson or Anthony Mackie does a pretty good job as the main characters. Even though again, I don't think his character is as charismatic as Steve Rogers. And I don't really feel the emotional arc that his character went through, even though it was there and it does work at the moment, but it doesn't really resonate with me, and it feels like, okay, it feels kind of hollow, and but I do think the other characters like Danny Ramirez, Joaquin Torres, the new Falcon, I think is a good character, because I was worried that Joaquin Torres' character is gonna be that annoying, but I feel like honestly in the movie he was actually quite likable, and I actually really like him, and I think he's a good side character to Captain America, and yeah, the rest of the character like Isaiah Bradley, played by Carl Lumley, I think he's a good character that serves as an emotional arc in the movie, and I think it does quite a good job on that, and we also got a new character named Ruth Bat Saraf, which is I think a different characters in the comics, but they changed that in the movie as a former Black Widow played by Shira Haas, and honestly, I don't see the purpose of her characters in the movie. You could just easily cut her character out of the movie and the movie would have been the same, and I think it would be much better in terms of the pacing in my opinion. And of course we also got Giancarlo Esposito as Seth Volker, the Sidewinder, which is the leader of the Serpent Society, and I think Giancarlo Esposito said that he was added during reshoots, and you can definitely feel that in the movie, and his character, I don't know, his character are just there, just there to fight Captain America and move on. That's it. That's all his character does, and then I guess he does kind of give some information later on to Captain America, but I feel like it was just like, all right, like I feel like he's just there to tease the future appearance by Giancarlo Esposito, because I think people are expecting him to do like an MCU movie, and then here he is, but I feel like his character are not that important, and I feel there is a much more smarter way to wrote the story in my opinion, because you could easily cut him out and Ruth's characters out of the movie, and it would have been much better in terms of the pacing, and of course we have Tim Blake Nelson as Samuel Stern's leader. I think it's nice to see that the team are trying to tie up some loose end from the Incredible Hulk, because I think people are forgetting that movie exists, to be honest, and it feels like what they did with Samuel Stearns here are quite good, I think Tim Blake Nelson's performance are really good as the leader, but I don't really like how his characters are just like popping up on certain scenes, where there is a scene where Samuel Stearns are just like sitting in a bench in a hospital, and then the leader just randomly show up, and it's like, hey, I need to tell this important information to you, Sam Wilson, because I was forced myself to do this, and that's why this scene has to happen, like it feels like that when he talks to the main characters, and it feels like his characters just like randomly pop up on certain scenes, and then I was like, okay, like how do you get there, and how do you know to get to the certain location? Like I get it, he's smart, like he has this calculation on everything, but I feel like that's not how his power works, right? Like how is he able to just get to the location on the right moment at the right time? Like that doesn't make any sense to me, and it kind of feels like the writer has no idea how to move forward the plot, so they just have this character, the leader Samuel Stern, just randomly show up on certain scenes. I think it was quite jarring, to be honest, seeing that happen in the movie. I was like, oh, like you are here now. Oh, okay. didn't think about that, but okay, you are randomly here, sure. The next character we have Harrison Ford as Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, which I think some people might consider his character as the heart of the movie, because there is some emotional resonance with his characters, that I say, I actually care for Thaddeus Ross' character in this movie, and I think Harrison Ford might be the best part about this movie. I think his performance are really, really good, and obviously rest in peace to William Hurt, the original actor who plays Thaddeus Ross, But yeah, they recast him with Harrison Ford, which is pretty quick recast, and then I do think Harrison Ford does a good job as Thaddeus Ross, and I think there is even a joke about the mustache, that I think they even address why he doesn't have a mustache, just like William Hart's version of Thaddeus Ross. It was supposed to be the same version, but I feel like you can definitely feels there is a different take, I guess, for the characters, but it's not exactly super different. So yeah, I think you can still just like turn off your brain and then just accept that it's like the same Thaddeus Ross from the previous movies, and I think he has some huge emotional resonance in this movie, so I think that's good, I like that, like he's the heart, but in this movie, and I like Harrison Ford's performance here, I feels like Harrison Ford actually give a shit in this movie, so thank God, and Liv Tyler also came back in this movie as a cameo. That's it, and I feel like that's really disappointing, because here's the thing though. This movie feels empty. Ultimately, this movie feels empty, because after I finished watching this movie, I was like, okay, well, that's a movie. I guess like it didn't feel that memorable for me, and I feels like it doesn't feel that special for me, and I feel like that's really sucks, and it kind of reminded me of the Martin Scorsese, quotes, where he said that superhero movie feels like a theme park, and yet, yeah, he was absolutely right, especially in this movie, that quote came back, because I was like, I enjoyed the movie when I'm watching it, but once it's done, I don't remember that much, I was like, okay, that's a movie, and the scene and the action sequence and the story kind of like blend together for me, even though that this movie is under 2 hours, but it feels like there is so many plot going on to the point that I kind of forget where the pacing of the movie went, and I kind of just like it just like blend together in my brain, and I feel like that's not a good sign, because if you do make a good movie, then you remember the scene from the movie, like at least the movie gives you some impression after you leave the theaters, and you remember the movie itself, and I feel like this movie are just okay, and it's like it's not bad, but it's also not special. Like it's kind of forgettable. I think most people will be disappointed by the movie, and it feels like, yeah, like I don't think this movie has an interesting plot point, to be honest. Like this should be a standalone Hulk storyline, and I think that would make much more sense, and I think it would be much more engaging. You could bring Mark Ruffalo back, as Bruce Banner. Why not, right? But they didn't do that. They didn't even bother to bring Mark Ruffalo in this movie, which is kind of fucking weird. And then Liv Tyler showed up as a cameo, and then that's it. I was like, hey, remember the characters, guys, from the Incredible Hulk? Yeah, like she's great, right? It's just like, all right, well, I don't see the purpose for her character to be in this movie besides saying that, oh, like I remember her from the Incredible Hulk, just like, come on, man, like you could expand her role, because like this movie does deal with the leader, right, which is like an enemy of the Hulk. So it's like, why don't you just bring Mark Ruffalo in this movie, and then Liv Tyler, obviously, and then give them a bigger role, because I think there is a room to make these two characters into a bigger role in the story, and you can still have Sam Wilson there as the main characters, because obviously Marvel doesn't want to make a solo Hulk movie, but I feel like there's a way for them to include the Hulk and Barry Ross into a much more bigger role in the story, and it would makes much more sense for me, because I think Bruce Banner and Barry Ross, obviously they know about the gamma radiation, so obviously they could help Sam Wilson, investigating the leader, and then maybe eventually having the third act fight scene between the Hulk and Red Hulk, which happens in a comic, and which is what I was expecting when I see the Red Hulk, but he's fighting Falcon, and Falcon has a lot of plot armor, man, like literally, because I feel like there is a lot of scene where it's just like, how does he able to fight the Red Hulk? It doesn't make any sense for me, but yeah, I mean, the fight scene itself is fun, but again, I think some people are gonna be questioning the plot armor in this movie, because like when the Falcon and the Red Hulk, I feel like the way they promote that fight scene in the trailer, it kind of feels weird for me, because like that fight scene alone, like these two characters are like fighting each other, it doesn't interest me, like if you have a Hulk and Red Hulk fighting each other, then all right, I'm in. Like this happens in the comic, and obviously we get to see the two Hulk fighting each other. Like that's awesome, because the last time we see like a two Hulk fighting each other is obviously in the Incredible Hulk, with the Hulk and Abomination, like that's the only movie where we see like two gamma radiation people fighting each other, and we never got any of that, so I think it's a missed opportunity for not bringing Bruce Banner in this movie and make him fight the Red Hulk in the third act of the movie. That would be perfect, and you could advertise that, and I think people might be more interested, in my opinion, but still, I think it's a missed opportunity for not giving Bruce Banner and Betty Ross a bigger role in this movie, like what's the point bringing back Liv Tyler if you're not giving her a bigger role in the story? I think you could easily inserted her into the story, and then maybe make her a Red She-Hulk. That would be interesting, I guess, who knows, that might happen in the future, who knows, but yeah. And from this part, I'm gonna warn you guys, there's gonna be some spoilers I want to talk about, especially about the post-credit scenes, because here's the thing: the post-credit scenes is about Sam Wilson visiting the leader, Samuel Stern, in the raft, and then the leader basically said that, hey, like, you think you're the only world, you think the only superhero world that exists? There are other worlds out there, which is obviously teasing the multiverse, and that's essentially the post-credit scene of Captain America: Brave New World. It's not that interesting, so maybe don't stick around to see the post-credit scenes, because it was on the very end, and it was just not interesting, man. It's just like another teaser for, like, hey, there's a multiverse out there. Like, are you guys still interested about that? Like, no, people are sick of the multiverse plot point at this point, right? Even Deadpool and Wolverine kind of make fun of that, yet this movie still teased that, in the post-credit scenes, but obviously they have to, because like Avengers Doomsday and then Avengers Secret Wars are still happening, sure, and I think after Secret Wars, MCU is gonna have like a soft reboot, so I think that's okay, that's good, but we're gonna have to wait until 2027, and that's a long time, man, and then when you see the post-credit scene in this movie, it was like, man, of course, yes, the multiverse, who can forget about that? Like, it's just not interesting, in my opinion. It's a giant waste of time, and people are gonna be bored by the multiverse plot point, but we have to sit here and enjoy it until 2027. So I guess hang in there, until the MCU reboot itself. So I guess we'll see about that. But either way, that's my review for Captain America: Brave New World, guys. I like that this movie are trying to be serious, try to match the tone of the Winter Soldier, and it does, but I feel like ultimately it feels empty, it didn't feel like a special movie, and it was maybe it's quite boring to some people, to be honest, and I think some people will like this movie, obviously the MCU fanboys will like this movie, sure, but I feel like most people are gonna be either bored or disappointed by the movie, or feeling hollow, that it doesn't feel anything after you finish watching the movie. That's why I feel like I enjoyed the movie. I think it's quite engaging, it's not boring for me, but after I finish watching it, it feels empty. That's how I feel like, so yeah, I guess let me know, guys, in the comment section below, what do you guys think about Captain America: Brave New World? Do you guys agree that Bruce Banner and Betty Ross should be in this movie and have a bigger role? Because I think that would enhance the storyline in the movie, in my opinion, but maybe you guys disagree, so let me know your opinions in the comment section below, guys. What do you guys think about the redhulk as well? Like how do you guys feel about the marketing of this movie? Like, it feels misleading for me. So yeah, either way, if you guys enjoyed this review, then make sure, guys, smash that subscribe and like button, guys. Share the videos, the usual stuff, and stay tuned for more reviews in the future, guys. And again, I hope you guys enjoyed this movie review, and I'll see you guys in the next one then. Bye.